Entire areas of Sri Lanka were flooded, killing over 150 after devastating floods and landslides wreaked havoc in the country, leaving massive destruction in its wake. Hello and welcome to NewsX Deep Dive with me, Vineet Malhotra. Today we talk about how Cyclone Ditwah has destroyed Sri Lanka and how India has offered support as a gesture of good neighborliness. But for starters, let's take a look at some of the most devastating visuals from Sri Lanka. The video captures a dramatic scene of severe flooding in hilly landscape in Sri Lanka amid Cyclone Ditwah. Shot from an elevated point, the visual shows a narrow, debris-choked riverbed that's swollen into a raging torrent of thick, muddy brown water. The floodwaters surge forcefully downstream, carrying branches, sediment and other debris. Flanking the river on both sides are clusters of single-story houses with tiled roofs. The visual shows the kind of impact of the Cyclone Ditwah has had. This next video captures a dramatic and tense scene of severe flooding in a rural area of Sri Lanka due to Cyclone Ditwah. In the visuals, a group of approximately 10 to 15 people stand closely together on the road, facing the flood. The water appears to be surging with immense force, crashing against trees and vegetation on the far side of the flood. The floodwaters are so powerful that they appear to be on the verge of overflowing onto the road. Let's take a look at another visual from Sri Lanka. The extent of devastation caused by the cyclone can be seen perfectly well here. You see a road completely washed away due to heavy floods in the area, affecting the connectivity for local residents. Massive landslides, severe floods and torrential downpour have all heavily affected over 3,73,000 people in Sri Lanka, displacing at least 44,000 temporarily. The Sri Lankan government has declared a state of national emergency to facilitate search, rescue and rehabilitation operations across the nation. With more than 12 inches of rain recorded in the eastern and central regions, footage released by the Sri Lankan Air Force showed stranded residents being rescued from rooftops while floodwaters engulfed homes. Rescue crews in Sri Lanka are airlifting people to safety after Cyclone Ditwah hit the island. While the wake of Cyclone Ditwah's devastating landfall on the November 28th, 2025, India swiftly launched Operation Sagar Bandhu to provide urgent humanitarian aid to flood-ravaged Sri Lanka. The operation, embodying India's neighborhood first policy, involved deploying Indian Air Force C-130J and IL-76 aircrafts from Hindon Air Base, airlifting over 21 tons of essential supplies including tents, tarpaulins, blankets, hygiene kits and ready-to-eat meals. The Indian Navy's INS Vikrant and INS Udaygiri also delivered 4.5 tons of dry ration, while specialized National Disaster Response Force teams with 80 rescuers and 4 canines coordinated on ground relief, underscoring New Delhi's commitment to regional solidarity as the death toll surpassed 150. The Indian Navy's INS Sukanya also departed Visakhapatnam with another 6.5 tons of ration and relief material set to dock in Colombo, while Chetak helicopters from INS Vikrant conducted their inaugural search and rescue sortie. Prime Minister Modi personally conveyed condolences and pledged further assistance, emphasizing the neighborhood first policy as NDRF teams waded through chest-deep waters in Kochikade to evacuate families and distribute aid, rescuing over 150 individuals in joint operations with Sri Lankan forces. The Indian Air Force has also positioned Mi-17 V5 helicopters in Colombo to bolster swift humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations under Operation Sagar Bandhu. These versatile twin-engine transport helicopters, renowned for their robustness in adverse weather, were airlifted via C-130J Super Hercules from Indian bases and touched down at the Bandar Naik International Airport early that morning, marking a pivotal escalation in India's aerial support. By 30th November, Operation Sagar Bandhu had escalated to airlift a total of 27 tons of humanitarian cargo, including advanced rescue equipment, transforming the mission into a model of bilateral solidarity amidst ongoing threats of secondary flooding. The High Commission of India in Colombo established a 24/7 helpline for stranded nationals and coordinated with Sri Lanka's Disaster Management Centre to restore communications in blacked out zones where power outages affected nearly 25% of the island's grid. As the cyclone's remnants lingered, threatening Tamil Nadu's coast, the operation highlighted India's proactive role, with experts praising it as a template for regional cooperation in disaster response, potentially saving thousands as rescue efforts intensified in landslide-prone hill country regions. Well, a heart-pounding video released by the High Commission of India in Colombo on the 29th of November captured the raw intensity of a Chetak helicopter rescue amid Cyclone Ditwah's deluge, showcasing the precision of Indian Navy aviators from INS Vikrant. Hovering at low altitude over the flooded outskirts of Polanavura, the chopper's crew towered rescue lines and an inflatable raft to a family of 4, parents and 2 young children clinging desperately to a thatched rooftop as muddy torrents raged below, carrying away livestock and debris. The footage, lasting under a minute, shows the children hoisted first, followed by the mother, their cries drowned by the rotor blades before the father is pulled aboard, all airlifted to makeshift relief camps 5 kilometers away. Filmed during one of the first sorties under Operation Sagar Bandhu, the video reveals the Chetak's versatility in adverse conditions. Lashing winds up to 80 km per hour and zero visibility from sheets of rain, highlighting training that enabled the crew to navigate without GPS in jammed signals. The viral clip, shared across social media and garnering millions of views, not only immortalized the family's narrow escape but also ignited global admiration for the operation's bravery, with the commentators dubbing it a beacon of hope in chaos. Well, in another video released by the Indian High Commission in Colombo, you see Indian Air Force personnel on board INS Vikrant's Chetak helicopter airlifting villagers to help them escape the severe floods in the region. These people were all neck deep in water and were at a high risk of being washed away until Indian forces came in to save the day. India's aid package under Operation Sagar Bandhu has proven life-saving, delivering over 27 tons of targeted relief by 30th November, including 10,000 tents and tarpaulins for makeshift shelters, 15,000 blankets to combat hypothermia in rain-soaked camps, and 20,000 hygiene kits stocked with sanitizers, masks and medical supplies to curb disease outbreaks in overcrowded evacuation centers housing 44,000 displaced Sri Lankans. Complementing these 50,000 ready-to-eat meals and 6.5 tons of non-perishable rations from INS Udaygiri addressed acute food shortages in isolated villages like Rambukana, where landslides buried homes, while specialized NDRF gear, life jackets, inflatable boats and thermal imaging drones enhanced search operations for the 171 missing, with 4 sniffer dogs detecting survivors under rubble in Anuradhapura. As the skies over Sri Lanka begin to clear, with the cyclone leaving destruction in its wake, Operation Sagar Bandhu stands as a testament to the unbreakable bonds of neighbors in crisis. These acts of compassion remind us that in nature's fury, humanity's light shines brightest. Guided by its steadfast commitment to the neighborhood first policy, India has made it clear that it remains fully committed to supporting Sri Lanka during this difficult time. All right, at this point in time, Miriam Alphonsus, editorial director of The Examiner, is joining us from Colombo at this point in time. Miriam, appreciate you speaking to us. Well, first up, what is the situation as it stands in Sri Lanka at this point in time? Everybody in India is concerned, and it's just not the concern that is bothering us. It is also the fact that Sri Lanka has been in dire straits for the last few years when it comes to its economy, when it comes to its resources, and India has always been there to take stock and help Sri Lanka whenever and wherever possible.
Yeah, so the situation is quite dire. The death toll has actually risen to 212 people now. Most of these deaths are in the central province. That's because, as you pointed out, there's flooding as well as landslides. Now, nearly 150,000 people have been displaced to shelters. So although the rain has stopped and the cyclone has moved past us, water from the catchment areas are starting to flow down. So we're unfortunately not out of danger yet. Water in the Kalani Valley, in the Kalani River, is rising, and that's where the capital Colombo is located, in that river basin. So parts of Colombo suburbs have been evacuated, and things are likely to get worse here, unfortunately, before they get better. Many areas remain cut off because of landslides and flooded roads, and they've been cut off for several days, actually. And so the life toll is likely to increase as well. In the long term, there's also going to be a lot of devastation. As you mentioned, Sri Lanka has been through an economic crisis. But in the long term, there's also the problem of a lot of crops, paddy and livestock being destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of acres of paddy have been destroyed. And as a result, there's going to be a food issue in the future. The need of the hour in that sense is seed paddy, because the season is still there, so we can replant. There's also, of course, water issues, because there's a lack of clean water since water access has been disturbed. And so we're also worried about waterborne diseases in the days to come. Yeah, so the relief and the recovery, it's going to be brutal.
Miriam, also, tell us as to what more does the government expect at this point in time? You said that, just because the rains are over, the problem is also over. There are going to be a lot of waterborne diseases that come to prey on people in and around these areas where there is still water logging. What is the government expecting from India at this point in time, and what do you think is going to be the long-term solutions to the woes of Sri Lanka when it comes to these natural disasters?
So I can't speak for the government. I don't know what they're expecting. But there's really been an outpouring of support from India and from several other countries. It's really been a kind of display of international solidarity. The Maldives and the US sent aid. Pakistan also sent a helicopter and aid. Japan has sent a technical team to kind of assess the damage. So the outpouring of support has been really helpful. As I said, there's going to be a need for seed paddy. There's going to be a need to rebuild. At the moment, we know that about 20,000 homes have been destroyed, but also, logistics support, right? So when it comes to roads, 256 highways and 15 major bridges have been damaged, and that's cut off tens of thousands of people from the rest of the country. So that's going to take a long time to repair as well. The government of Sri Lanka has put out, has made an appeal for funds. So even individuals can donate to the government of Sri Lanka at this time. And so we're hopeful that with international aid as well, we will be able to slowly make a recovery.
Thank you for those insights. All right, we're taking a short break on that note. We'll be right back.